Greetings, Captain, and welcome to Stowbetter's Elite TFO training on the Gateway to Gre'Thor TFO. What are the objectives?
Iconian forces are blockading the Klingon shipyard and starbase in orbit over Kronos. 2 squadrons must be defeated at each location to allow Allied ground forces to reach the surface. On Elite, you have 3 minutes to clear these sites. Next, escort transports from the shipyard and starbase to the surface over the next 6 minutes. On Advanced, at least 10 transports must reach the surface, while on Elite, the minimum number is 25. Lastly, a Herald fleet led by a dreadnought will arrive to reinforce the enemy position. Your final objective is to defeat this force. On Elite, you have 3 minutes to do so and complete the TFO. Good luck, Captain.
Thank you. On to risks and rewards. This TFO needs moderate coordination to play well on Elite with all optionals and without dying. The main area of coordination is properly allocating ships to each part of the lane in the second stage while escorting the troop transports. Against Iconians, the enemy threat level is moderately high, as opposing ships are numerous and can be quite dangerous. Energy gateways increase enemy shields, solar gateways deal significant damage, and the spawning gateways will summon cruisers and battleships on Elite. Also, be aware of electromagnetic pulse probes, which have a significant disable effect. This TFO awards a moderate amount of Iconian or fleet marks, along with a chance for subspace comm power pieces. Lastly, this operation is of moderate length, as it is guaranteed to last over 6 minutes due to the time-gated second stage, but the first and last stages can be quick with the appropriate team. The adversaries on this operation are Iconian Heralds, which have a combination of smaller and larger ships. The smaller Bolton Raiders are not much of a threat, but Quas cruisers and especially Vaunt battleships are far more dangerous. Battleships can summon solar gateways, which inflict severe damage over time if left unchecked, and can spawn them behind player ships. Both cruisers and battleships can summon energy gateways, which increase their durability, and have abilities like EMP Pulse Probe and Ionic Turbulence, which can disable or interfere with normal ship operation, leaving you vulnerable to more conventional attacks. Iconian forces in the second stage principally arrive through a series of spawning gateways, while also summoning radiation gateways that damage and slow the transports. The radiation gateways are the chief danger to the transports, whereas the Iconian ships that arrive from spawning gateways are more dangerous to players. In the first stage, only attack enemies at the starbase and shipyard. There are 2 other groups of Iconian ships that aren't part of either objective and should thus be ignored. If you complete your stage before the other team is done, go assist them, bypassing the group in the middle. In the second stage, divide the team between the 2 lanes, with at least 2 players on each lane. While it is possible to solo a lane, it is significantly more difficult on Elite, and will make failing the TFO more likely. The priority in the second stage is closing radiation gateways first. After that, focus on closing spawning gateways, and third, fight the Heralds unless the transports are under attack. It is possible to camp a couple of spots on each lane that cover all the spawn zones, such that you don't have to move during this stage, but we're not going to illustrate that tactic because it's unreliable and uncoordinated play. Lastly, it's important to note that you need to come to a complete stop when closing gateways. Moving too much past a series of invisible boundaries will reset progress on the gateway, even if you remain in close proximity overall. Crossing the midpoint, for example, will reset progress and likely result in damage or destruction of Allied transports. Tank builds are quite capable on this map, as they can handle the incoming damage, and fire at will help shoot down solar gateways and EMP probes. However, due to the spread out nature of this map in the first and second stages, it's unreasonable to expect a team with only a single tank to effectively draw threat for most of the mission. Since it is more spread out, more damage-oriented tanks or heavy tanks are better suited to this map rather than a supportive one. That's not to say a support tank can't work, but the nature of the map lends itself to more self-sufficient builds. At the start, pick either the shipyard or starbase and fly there at maximum speed to destroy the enemy fleets. In this run, we start to the right at the shipyard. Target the cruisers, then the battleship when it arrives. If you can take its shields down with a console-like tactical net drones, you'll find it a much easier opponent. But if you're flying with a player with a 2 million DPS personal best, as I was here, you probably won't even get to activate. Seriously, we looked them up. This side of the run ends up being very easy because not only did the other ship bring a lot of damage to clear out Iconians, but more importantly, they knew what they were doing, and that's what's key on this TFO. If the other side needs help, move there after you finish your side, ignoring the group in the middle. In this case, our side finished significantly faster, so we popped over, cleared the Iconians, and then returned to our original lane.
The troop transports have entered all.
In the second stage, focus on protecting transports by closing radiation gateways. It's a good idea to focus on planet side or orbit side on any one of the lanes, rather than traversing the length of the lane, but that is an option if you can't rely on your teammates. If there are no radiation gateways active, close the spawning gateways to reduce the number of Iconian ships. Remember to not move while closing gateways. It is also a good idea to engage targets of opportunity while closing, but again, focus the gateways. This cannot be said enough. The gateways have a leash distance of 3 kilometers. Note that you don't necessarily have to close a radiation gateway until there are transports approaching within about 12 kilometers of it, but generally better to be safe than sorry. Here, a transport takes significant damage from a radiation gateway. While you can use some heals and resist boosts like hazard emitters on a transport to reduce the damage it takes from a gateway and heal back some of the damage, that is only a temporary solution. I tried using causal reversion, but forgot it cannot be ally cast. Instead, try and stay ahead of a group of transports to avoid them taking any damage at all from the radiation gateways.
Shipyard troop transports are beginning their run to the fact.
If you're using a tank with entwined tactical matrices, and thus a torpedo, it's best practice to keep your nose pointed towards groups of enemies so the torpedo will fire and keep your fire at will uptime high. It's more important to close gateways quickly, but if you can do that and point your nose at the Iconians, that's even better.
Shipyard troop transports are beginning their run to the fact.
At this point, I flew to a radiation gateway, but couldn't interact with it. The reason was that my lane mate was already closing it. In that case, it's probably a good idea to stay close in case they get interrupted, unless you trust them to handle it. My lane mate knew what they were doing, and I was confident they had it under control, so I moved on to the next priority, which in this case was a spawning gateway. Remember that you have to be within 3 kilometers to close a gateway.
Shipyard troop transports are beginning their run to the fact. Shipyard troop transports are beginning their run to the fact. Shipyard troop transports are beginning their run to the fact. Shipyard troop transports are beginning their run to the fact. Herald Dreadnought has entered the system. The remaining Herald ships are rallying around the Dreadnought.
The last stage is straightforward. Target the Dreadnought and fire everything. It will attempt to teleport towards the shipyard if not destroyed quickly enough, but if it does, chase it down and finish it off within 3 minutes. Once the Dreadnought and its attendant ships are destroyed, the TFO completes. Captain, if this breakdown helped you in your quest to play Stowe better, please consider liking this video and subscribing to our channel. The link to the specific build used for this tutorial is in the description. For more guides and builds, check us out at www.stobetter.com.